Title: The Frozen Tides of Aeloria, Part 1. The Dragon Beneath the Icy Sea was not meant to freeze, not in Aeloria, for centuries. The great sapphire sea stretched endlessly alive with roaring tides. Silver-scaled fish, and ships that danced across the horizon like drifting stars. Sailors sang of its moods, its tempests, its kindness. It was a living thing, but now it was silent, frozen, and something ancient was waking beneath it. The last voyage begins. Kael tightened the rope around his wrist as the wind howled across the deck. "Hold the mast steady," he shouted, though his voice was nearly swallowed by the storm. The small wooden boat, the driftwood echo, creaked under pressure. Ice had begun forming along its edges, thin at first like glass but spreading unnaturally fast. "This isn't natural," Mira yelled from behind him, her dark hair whipping across her face. "The sea doesn't freeze this far south." Kael didn't respond immediately. He didn't need to. They both knew. This wasn't just weather, it was a warning. The frozen horizon 3 days earlier, they had left the port city of LearnEnglish with a simple mission: deliver sealed cargo to a distant island. Nothing unusual, just another journey across familiar waters. But on the second night, the stars vanished, not behind clouds, they simply disappeared. And then the cold came, a creeping, biting cold that sank into bone and thought. The sea began to harden, wave by wave, until the boat was no longer sailing but sliding. "Kael," Mira whispered, pointing ahead. The horizon shimmered. At first, it looked like mist, then glass, then ice. Kael said slowly, "Not floating ice, a wall, miles high, stretching endlessly in both directions." "The legend they ignored. There's a story," Mira said, her voice barely audible. "My grandmother used to tell it. About the icebound deep." Kael gave a dry laugh. "Now isn't the time for stories." "No," she said, stepping closer. "Now is exactly the time." She lowered her voice. "They say beneath the sea lives an ancient dragon, not of fire, but of frost. A creature older than kingdoms, older than the ocean itself." Kael shook his head. "Myths. They say when it wakes," she continued, ignoring him, "the sea freezes to contain it." Silence. Only the cracking of ice answered. Trapped between worlds be nightfall. The boat had stopped moving completely. They were no longer sailors. They were stranded. The ocean around them had become a frozen desert, sharp ridges of ice stretching endlessly, glowing faintly under a pale, unnatural light. Kael stepped off the boat carefully, his boots crunching against the surface. "Solid," he muttered. Mira followed, wrapping her cloak tighter. "What now?" Kael looked ahead. In the distance, faint shapes rose from the ice. "Ruins, impossible ruins." "There," he said. "We head there. Ruins. In the middle of the sea. Better than freezing to death here." She hesitated, then nodded. "The city beneath the sea." It took hours to reach them. The closer they got, the stranger it became. Towering spires of stone, covered in frost. Archways frozen mid-collapse. Statues half buried in ice, faces twisted in expressions of fear. "This was a city," Mira whispered. Kael ran his hand along a frozen pillar. "No. This was something more." The architecture was unlike anything in Aeloria. Smooth, curved, almost organic. as if the buildings had grown rather than been built. And at the center, a massive circular structure, a gate. The frozen gate stood at least 50 feet tall, made of dark crystal covered in ice. Strange symbols glowed faintly beneath its surface. Mira stepped closer, her eyes wide. I've seen these before. Where? In old texts. Forbidden ones. Kael frowned. That's reassuring. She ignored him, tracing the symbols with her fingers. These markings, they speak of binding, of imprisonment. A deep rumble echoed beneath their feet. Kael stiffened. Did you feel that? Another rumble, stronger. The ice cracked slightly, and then a sound, low, ancient, a breath. The awakening ground beneath them trembled. Violently, cracks spread across the frozen sea like lightning. Kael, Mira shouted from beneath the ice. Something moved, a shadow, huge, far larger than any ship. The ice bulged upward, then shattered. A massive shape surged beneath the surface, glowing with an eerie blue light. Two enormous eyes opened in the depths, watching, waiting, awake. It's real, Mira whispered. The ice exploded. A colossal dragon erupted from the frozen sea, its body made of shimmering ice and ancient scales. Frost spiraled around it like a storm, and its wings stretched across the sky, blocking out the pale light. Kael fell to his knees, not from fear, from the sheer force of its presence. The dragon's gaze locked onto them, and then it spoke, not with words, but directly into their minds. Who dares stand upon my prison? A choice that will change everything. Mira clutched her head, gasping. It's inside my thoughts. Kael forced himself to stand. We mean no harm. The dragon's eyes narrowed. All who come here bring harm. The frozen city began to crumble around them. The gate behind them glowed brighter. Mira turned suddenly. Kael, the gate. It's reacting to us, or to it, he said. The dragon lowered its massive head closer. Cold radiated from its breath, freezing the air itself. The seal weakens, it said. And you carry the key? Kael froze. The key, he repeated. Mira slowly reached into her cloak. Her hand trembled. She pulled out the cargo they had been sent to deliver. A small, glowing crystal. The moment it touched the air, the gate roared to life, and the dragon screamed.